So we will now start our second session. We have with us CA Ravi Gupta, a very well-known speaker on charitable trusts, and he will be dealing on various aspects. And to give a formal introduction, I call upon CA Meghna Sapne.
Thanks, Vijeta, for giving me the opportunity to introduce CA Ravi Gupta. He is a founder partner of Ravi Gupta and Company for more and having more than 25 years of professional experience. He has rendered professional services in the field of formation and taxation of charitable trust, societies, sections, and companies, formation and private trust, audit and assurance, then direct indirect taxations, financial planning and tax planning, then scrutiny assessments, international taxations, transfer pricing, formation of private limited company LLPs, real estate that is RERA registration and compliances, formation and for registration of partnership firms, bank branch audits. He has also cleared limited insolvency examination in October 2017 and impaneled as peer review with ICAI. He was also member of Cooperative Societies Committee of WRC, then Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Committee of WRC in 22-23, and also member of Charitable Trust Committee AOP and other Artificial Persons Committee of WRC for the year 23-24. He also speaks with the following topics like the formation and taxations of the charitable trust, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, CSR, then social stock exchange, self-help and positive mental attitude in the event organized by ICAI through its regional and branches and study circles and other forums as well. He is also part of other events organized by Mumbai and Pune Income Tax Department. He is a senior officer of CAG and Income Tax Department officials. Then he is also regularly contributing to the WRC reference manuals in newsletter of Vasai branch of WRC. Also giving reviews on various research works and towards the representation to be made by the Ministry of Law through Charity Commissioner on amendments of Maharashtra Public Trust Act. So with this brief introductions, I'll just introduced Manish Baghereji and Krishnari to give nice mementos. Krishna ji is not there here.
अभी गुप्ता जी के साथ में उनके ये भगवान इस कहना जो लड़का वो बोला थोड़ा सा बहुत भी जवाब बोलने में ऑलरेडी प्रैक्टिसिंग है ये ना सर यही
इसको फुल स्क्रीन ही कर देंगे। यहाँ पे मतलब स्क्रॉल यहाँ से करूँगा, यहाँ से कर फुल स्क्रीन नहीं, इसको भी फुल कर देंगे। पढ़ने में बड़ी सुविधा हो, मैं तो यही देखूँ, ऐसे ही कर लूँ। थैंक यू। Good morning friends. Let me first thank the JB Nagar Study Circle or WRC of ICI for giving me this opportunity. I believe I am here for the third time speaking on the same subject because maybe I don't know anything else as far as this particular subject is. I'm more focused on this. So anyways, a big round of applause for the audience first. On this Sunday morning, contributing so much of time to educate themselves, update themselves. And in the process, we are also getting ourselves updated. And I would like to thank the coordinators, more importantly, Vijeta ji, the convener. And I know her for the last, I believe, 3 or 4 years. Because we had been to the Vietnam trip and she is such a talented person. She is a good singer, she is a good dancer. And the coordinators of this session. And I think Arpit Kabraji is also there, but I think he's not in the house, he's out there. I mean, looking for votes basically. This is a voting season nowadays. So today morning I just faced an instance. We were just traveling to this session. So a few of my CA friends, they just passed by and I said कि भाई तो बोले सर कहाँ जा रहे हो? तो मैं बोला जेबी नगर स्टडी सर्कल में जा रहे हैं. तो बोले ऑडिट नहीं है क्या? तो मैं बोला ऑडिट तो है भाई, लेकिन अभी सेशन करने के बाद करेंगे ऑडिट, अभी बाकी के 7-8 दिन जो बचे हैं. कहने का मतलब ये है सीएस आर नाउडेज सो ऑब्सेस्ड विद ऑडिट्स कि भाई अगर कोई सीए कहीं बाहर जा रहा है किसी काम से, सेशन के लिए भी जा रहा है या कोई फंक्शन भी अटेंड कर रहा है, तो लोगों के दिमाग में ये आता है कि भाई इनके पास ऑडिट नहीं है, इसके लिए घूमने निकल गए. So, so just to begin on a lighter note, आप 2 घंटे का सेशन एकदम माइंड ग्रिलिंग सेशन आपने अटेंड किया है. मैं ज्यादा नहीं तपाऊंगा आपको, डोंट वरी. ऑफ कोर्स दिस सब्जेक्ट तो तपाने वाला ही है, लेकिन बट एनीवेज आई विल ट्राई टू मेक इट एज इजी एज पॉसिबल फॉर यू. सो आई थिंक मेरा टाइम 1.5 घंटा, ठीक है, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी आधा घंटा पौना घंटा हम लेट चल रहे हैं, आधा घंटा लेट चल रहे हैं बेसिकली. सो दिस इज द सिलेबस एज फार एज चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट एनजीओज इज कंसर्न्ड. आई विल टॉक मोर अबाउट टैक्सेशन. और बहुत सारे लोगों को अभी देयर इज अ कंसर्न कि 10B कैसे भरना, 10BB कैसे भरना, ITR 7 कैसे भरना, ITR 5 कब एप्लीकेबल होगा, ITR 7 कब एप्लीकेबल होगा. All those things are there, but what I would suggest is कि once you go through the entire, all the sections and all the amendments from time to time. Of course, amendments are many. From 2021 से लेके अभी तक amendments ही हम लोग झेल रहे हैं for the last 4.5 years, and lot of amendments and lot of typical amendments. So, but anyways, abhi now I think the law is more or less settled with this last amendment in 2024, I believe. Let's hope so. But I think बहुत सारी चीजें settle हो चुकी over the period. So we'll begin with the subject then in that case. At the very outset 215 का हम बात करेंगे because I always cover this particular section in my sessions for the simple reason कि until and unless we don't know what is charitable purpose, the whole idea of understanding charitable trust NGOs is futile. So that is why what is a charitable purpose is defined in section 215. And what does it all cover? Relief of the poor, education, yoga introduced very recently from 2015, medical relief, preservation of environment, preservation of monuments, advancement of any other object of public and general utility. Now this is the residual section. इसमें एक proviso भी उन्होंने introduce किया 215 में. And what does that proviso says? And that is only for this general public utility trust. कि if your commercial activity transactions are crossing more than 20% of the entire transactions of the entire receipts of your trust, in that case, for that particular year, you will be denied the advantages of section 11 and 12. Otherwise, for all the above trust, all the other ऊपर वाले जो भी trust है, relief of poor, education, yoga, medical relief, preservation of monument and preservation of environment. On all those cases, आप commercial activity more than 20%, of course, subject to conditions, आप कर सकते हैं. We can do it. There are certain, bullet points which I have mentioned as far as 215 is concerned. The definition of charitable purpose is inclusive. Inclusive in the sense, tomorrow a client might come to you, उनको बोलेगा, we want to come up with a sports association or a merchants association. So it will fall in the residual section. That is why we say that the purpose, the definition of charitable purpose is a inclusive definition. Then we say a purpose must, in order to be charitable, be directed to the benefit of community or a section of the community as distinguished from an individual or a group of individuals. Now, why is this important? Many times you may come across a situation whereby the trust belongs to a say, particular community, like say the Jain community or the Gujarati community or the Kutch community or something of that. So even if the benefits are availed by the community as a whole, then too it will fall under the charitable purpose. Of course, there are subject to certain conditions, but as a whole, it is not necessary that you have to benefit the whole of mankind. A particular religious community or a particular caste is also a very big community. You cannot direct, you being a small trust, maybe it is a small trust, you cannot direct all your efforts towards the entire human mankind. So that is the reason, even if it is the target is a particular community, it is fine. It will be categorized as charitable purpose as long as the list of beneficiaries is not defined. I would put it the other way around. If the list of beneficiaries is defined, in that case, it will not be a public charitable trust. It will be a private trust.
Sir?
Yeah.
Just to create a community.
Yeah.
Community is building up premises.
Yeah.
Some hall or something.
Yeah.
That is given on rent to not only to the community but others outside also, and they make profit out of it. Then what is status of the trust? Whether it is flexible or charity continues to get.
This is a very, one part of the question. I think we'll take the questions in the later part, like, last 15-20 minutes, we'll deal with all the questions because your question has got it is just one leg of the question. The entire formation of the trust has to be seen. What are the objects of the trust has to be seen. So that's what. So 100 years old trust will be having a lot of things involved because we'll have to take a holistic view. See, talking particularly about one income, you said you are receiving rent income. That rent income will be classified in your income and expenditure account as income.
Yes.
Then you will be spending 85% towards the objects of the trust. Then the residual will be taxed. Only particularly that particular income will be taxed separately is not the case. Okay. Presence of an uncertain and fluctuating body of beneficiaries that we just spoke about. We spoke about the proviso because in 1.5 hours, of course, I'll have to run through certain things. But of course, I have made a very detailed PPT and the PPT is shared with the study circle and it is always available to you. You can contact me also. I will share the PPT to you also individually if you so want. Then we are coming to 1023C. Now let me give you a brief background about 1023C. When we are talking about 1023C, when we are talking about section 11 entities, why 1023C, why section 11? So the government also over the period of 3 to 4 years, they have recognized that let us merge this 1023C and section 11. So in the last amendment now, 2024 budget, they have more or less done that process. They have announced the merger of 1023C and section 11 entities that we will cover when we are talking about the amendments. But coming to 1023C, we'll be talking more about 1023C 4, 5, 6 and 6A. And also 3AB, 3AC, 3AD, 3AE also. Now, what is 3AB and 3AC? When we come to 1023C, these are the entities where the government is funding more than 50% to those entities, like we are receiving government grants more than 50%. In that case, that will fall under 3AB and 3AC. Then we talk about 3AD and 3AE. Last year, there was an amendment in 3AD and 3AE. And what was that amendment? Earlier, the threshold limit was 1 crore. And that 1 crore was interpreted as you are having, if you are having different entities, that 1 crore ka limit will be applicable to each and every entity separately. There were many case laws. So there was a confusion as far as that was concerned. So that is why in the amendment, they have dealt with it. They have increased the limit of 1 crore to 5 crores. But of course, there is also one subject to that if you are running an entity or an institution, which is a medical institution, as well as an educational institution. Now, what can be the example of such an institution? Medical college. They are running a medical college also as well as a hospital also. In that case, the figures from both the activities will be merged, and that limit of 5 crores will be checked against those figures there. Then if you are crossing 5 crores, in that case we go 6 and 6A. 6 is for educational institutions and 6A is for medical institutions. So briefly, this is about 1023C. Then earlier there were many provisions in 1023C which were not there in section 11 entities. So there was a lot of ambiguity as far as the provisions of charity were concerned when we compare 1023C with section 11. So 1023C, they first of all they brought it at par. All the provisions, they more or less they brought it at par, and now they have decided to merge them. So now we'll be having only section 11 entities, or you were to be precise, you may call it section 12 entities, which it is called in common parlance. You will get the advantages of section 11 and 12 to those entities. 1023C will be more or less redundant. It will be merged now. Now these are the provisions. I have made an elaborate table of all the provisions and all the provisos and all the subsections as far as section 11 entities are concerned, as well as section 1023C entities are concerned. But I will cover a few very important points, which will be, when you are filing your returns for this particular financial year, this will be very important for you. Like, when you are using money, when you are borrowing in your trust. One example is when you borrow money from in your trust. First of all, charity commissioner ka permission is important in that case if it is registered in Maharashtra. One thing. Second thing, if you borrow money and you apply that money towards the objects of the trust, that means ideally it will be a deficit for this particular financial year. So that nowadays they are disallowing. What they are doing is they are saying that whatever money you are spending on the objects of the trust from the monies borrowed will not be treated as application towards the objects of the trust for that particular financial year. Now, when it will be treated as application towards the objects of the trust, when you repay the loan. Now, there is one more possibility in that also. Suppose if you are borrowing, say 10 lakhs, and in the next 5 years, there is a threshold limit of 5 years also, which was put later on. Earlier, there was no time limit as such. Now, suppose if that particular amount of 10 lakhs, you are paying over a period of say 5 years. In the first year, you are paying say 2 lakhs, then you are paying 2 lakhs, then you are paying 2 lakhs. In that case, every year, that particular amount which you are repaying towards the loan and which was disallowed earlier will be allowed to you in the year of payment. And similar is the case with, when you use the money from corpus. Earlier, people were using money from corpus. They were not having general donations. They were spending towards the objects of the trust and they were using the money from the corpus. In the bargain, what was happening? The corpus was more or less eroded. In many organizations I have seen in my practical experience that there was a huge corpus, but then over the period, the entire corpus got eroded. So the department wanted to check that erosion, and that is the reason they brought amendment saying now if you are using the money from the corpus, it will not be treated as application towards the objects of the trust. Again, same condition as we discussed about loans and borrowings. When you are compensating or when you are reimbursing that amount to the corpus, that is the time it will be treated as application towards the objects of the trust. Again, subject to a limit of 5 years, time limit of 5 years. You have to repay that amount. One very important amendment, trust to trust donations. Earlier, we have seen that we were making a lot of donations from trust to trust, and there was a round tripping of funds in many cases. From trust A to trust B, B to C, C to D, D to E, and ultimately we found that there is no spending towards the objects of the trust. Because if you are receiving, say, a certain amount, you are accumulating 15%, which is the standard deduction to you under section 11(1), and the remaining amount you are donating to another trust. Then that another trust is donating that amount to another trust, then to another trust. Maybe all those trusts are connected and sister concerns basically sort of. So there was no spending towards the objects of the trust. The trust was formed and it was used for tax planning to a very great extent. So that is also checked now. What the department now says is if you are making donation from one trust to another trust, Corpus, of course, is not allowed. Corpus donation from one trust to another trust is definitely not allowed. But if you are giving donation from one trust to another trust, in that case also 15% will be disallowed. What is the logic behind it? That the trust which is receiving the donation, they will get the 15% deduction. Because they will be spending the money, so-called, they will be spending the money towards the objects of the trust. Now, suppose if that trust also is donating that amount to another trust, in that case to them also that 15% will be disallowed. So at the ultimate end, when the amount will be spent actually towards the objects of the trust, that is the place 15% will be allowed to you under section 11. So that is one more very major change. Then we have one more change where we are saying that if the money you have accrued certain income for a particular financial year, but you have not paid that amount. So if you are not paying that amount will not be treated as application towards the objects of the trust. That will be treated as application towards the objects of the trust when the amount towards those expenses are actually paid. Now, why this is happening? Why this happened rather? This has already happened. Why this has happened? Because earlier we used to see that expenses were, payable expenses were running from years to years, like 7 years, 10 years, 5 years. They were just booking those expenses, that amount was unpaid for a number of years to come. So that has also been checked in this particular amendment. Very recently, not this year's amendment, last year's amendment. Then earlier books of accounts are not defined. Books of accounts are not defined. What are the books of accounts that the trust is supposed to maintain? Now they have given notification number 94. They have said that these are the books of accounts that you are supposed to maintain. And you have to notify the places also where you are maintaining the books of accounts. Now, with many cases have happened whereby searches were conducted at the trust's premises, registered premises with the income tax department. But unfortunately, they could not find the books over there. So now they are saying the places have to be notified. If you are changing the places also within the time limit, I think 1 week or 1 month, you have to notify that this is the place where the books will be found. Earlier, we did not have specified violations. The violations were scattered throughout the sections. But now we have 115 BBI. 115 BBI specifically talks about the violations, which will be considered as violations. And irrespective of the other provisions of the Act, those specified violations will be put to tax at maximum marginal rate. Now, what are the specified violations? You are applying the amount towards the objects of the trust, not as per your trust deed. You are accumulating by filing form number 9A. You are accumulating by filing form number 10. And by filing form number 9A, you are not using the amount in the next financial year when you are supposed to use it. Or you have accumulated the amount for a period of 5 years by filing form number 10 under section 11(2). And then you are not using that within 5 years. And the amount which is unutilized will be put to tax at the maximum margin. You have to maintain, you have to register yourself. If you are not registering yourself or if you are not renewing your registration, that is also considered as a specified violation. If you are not complying with the other laws relevant to the charitable trust, in that case also it will be considered as a specified violation. And you will be put to tax. And there may be circumstances if you are registered under section 12A, the registration under section 12A will be cancelled or rejected. And the provisions of section 115 TD will kick in, whereby you will be taxed on the accreted income, which is more draconian. So these are certain, changes which have been made. Specifically talking about the registration part now. What the registration part, most of us from 2021, we are seeing the registration, how it is done, how it is granted, how it has to be renewed. I don't think I will mention the time limits over here and the sub clauses where you can apply. If you have any certain query regarding registration, we'll definitely handle it. But the thing is now registration is also totally overhauled. From 2021, we were facing a lot of challenges as far as registration is concerned. From time and again, the time limits have been extended. And the latest extension was up to 30th of June 2024. Now that particular extension also, we came across many organizations, many trusts who said कि sir अभी भी हमने re-registration नहीं लिया. They were earlier registered under section 12A, but they did not avail the re-registration facility under the latest extension also. So for them, we made representations to the income tax department saying कि sir, this is the situation. Even there are trusts now who have not availed this opportunity. Now what to do? Now ultimately, the department has come up with the amendments in 2024 now, the last budget. And they said कि now your delay will be condoned by the PCIT or CIT based on the merits of your case. We will discuss that when we come to that later slide. Corpus donation, of course, needless to say, corpus is your capital receipt. As far as charitable trusts are concerned, it is again established fact that you can debit the capital expenditure also to your income and expenditure account. Revenue expenditure, of course, you can debit.
And technical claiming competition. Claiming competition 85%.
No, I'm not talking about 85%. I'm talking about the capital expenditure and the routine expenditure, application towards the objects of the trust. Of course, you will debit it to the income and expenditure account to the extent of 85%, of course. Then 15% will be accumulated. You will again get the limit of 2,50,000 also, which is available to the individuals.
What I am asking, it will be debited to the asset account only. In computation, you will get capital expenditure. Yes.
I didn't get your question.
To the program loss account. Yeah. No, I
didn't get your question. What was the point?
Capital asset purchase.
Ah.
You will debit to the asset account only, not in income expenditure.
See, no.
Computation, you can claim that.
No, it can be done either way, sir. Now, suppose if you are purchasing an ambulance, if you are purchasing an ambulance, you can straight away debit to the income and expenditure account. Why not? Because you are not claiming depreciation on the same.
Any asset you can debit.
Definitely you can. Earlier, people were claiming they were debiting to the income and expenditure account as well as they were claiming depreciation. So that was checked by section 11.6. There was an amendment to section 11.6 whereby they are saying that if you have debited the entire expenditure of the capital asset to your income and expenditure account, in that case you will not be allowed depreciation.
Accounting principle require that you debit to asset account in the balance sheet because of provision.
It can be done either way. I mean, you can maintain a separate schedule also for your assets, not a problem.
And later on you charge the depreciation as per income tax rate and disallowed.
Yeah,
Because
it can be done.
application
Can be done. It is just a matter of presentation. Now, this explanation 1A was done earlier also. Explanation 3A. Conditions for treatment of voluntary contribution received for renovation or repairs of temple, church, mosques, etc. Notified under section 80G2B. Now, 80G2B, these are the organizations which are registered under section 1023C5. A recent example, not so recent now, recent example of Ram Janam Bhoomi. Now, that is the organization which is registered under section 1023C5. And this particular amendment is applicable to those organizations whereby the trust at their discretion can use a particular donation as corpus donation. Of course, they are subject to certain conditions that corpus to be applied for the purpose for which it is to be received, no donation to be made to any other person. Corpus should be separately identifiable and to be invested as per section 11.5. But this is the only exception where the trustees can say, okay, this particular donation I will transfer it to corpus. Otherwise, there is no such case. Trustees are not at liberty to treat a particular donation as a corpus donation or a general donation. Corpus, we have loans and advances, and corpus we have covered. Period of 5 years we have discussed. Inter-charity donations we have done. See, there are certain important points which I have mentioned, which may be of help to the forum basically. The reference to the term property does not necessarily mean any movable or immovable property. Business undertaking as covered under section 11.4 of the Act is also property held under trust. Because when we read section 11.1, So it says income from property held under trust. Now, held under trust means business undertaking also. If you are running a business undertaking in your charitable trust, in that case, it will be treated as property held under trust. It is not necessary that receipt of income should precede its application. Many times we may so say that we are spending certain amount towards the objects of the trust. In that particular financial year, we may not have received the donation till yet, when we are applying that money or when we are spending that money. But that does not mean that you cannot spend the money. It is not necessary that the income should precede the expenditure. Application is more important than the source. The source need not be confined to the income of the previous year. Not the source may be of the earlier year also. You can spend that amount. Scope of income includes capital income, and scope of application includes application of capital nature also that we have discussed. Now, due dates, coming to due dates now, what are the due dates? For filing of form number 10, filing of form number 9A, 31st August is the due date. Filing of form number 10BD, 31st May is the due date. Filing of audit report in 10B or 10BB as the case may be, the due date is 30th September. And then filing of income tax returns, the due date is 31st of October.
Can you come again?
31st May, filing of form number 10BD, that is related to donations. When we file 10BD, we generate 10BE. That 10BE has to be given to the donor so that they can claim deduction in their income tax returns. That is 31st May. Then we have 31st August, 9A and form number 10. What is 9A? Accumulation. If you have received the amount that you file form number 9A, you get a deemed application for that, and that money has to be spent in the next financial year. Now, let us take a practical example for a better understanding. Suppose if you receive a donation of say 10 lakhs on 31st of March 2024, and you are not in a position to spend that amount, how will you spend that amount? In that case, you can file form number 9A, and you will get the liberty of spending that amount in the next financial year. So that is form number 9A. Now, what is form number 10? Form number 10 is under section 11(2). That form number 10 gives you a deemed application for the particular year in which you receive the amount for a period of 5 years. You can accumulate that amount for a period of 5 years. Let us take a practical example. If you want to come up with a school building, you need a lot of funds. Suppose the budget is say 10 crores. In that case, you receive 2 crores in a particular year. You accumulate that amount by filing form number 10. That amount will be available for you to spend in the next 5 financial years. You accumulate 2 crores.
Why is 10 and 9A?
Difference between 9A and 10. 9A, you will have to spend the money. Suppose if you receive on 31st March, on the last date, you will have to spend the amount before 31st March of the subsequent financial year. Only 1 year, you may say. And whereas in form number 10, you will be allowed to accumulate that amount for a period of 5 years. Now, these things, form number 9A and form number 10, form number 9A is still not available to 1023C organizations. Form number 10, they have made available now. But 9A is still not available to 1023C. But 1023C, as a matter of fact, are very limited organizations as compared to Section 11 entities. So, due dates, everybody is clear. 31st August, 9A or 10, form number 9A, 10 as the case may be. 30th September, audit. Audit as prescribed by the Maharashtra Public Trust Act also, and audit as prescribed by the Income Tax Act 1961. Maharashtra Public Trust Act also has given a date of 30th September for submitting the audit reports.
That particular is it not there before you get a final.
No, sir, I would not suggest that we should take that risk because it is.
Doesn't say for which year.
Yes. That's why we have followed the date of 31st August, more or less. Maybe 1 or 2 we have missed because we did not get the information from the clients, but otherwise we have complied by 31st August.
So if the due date for filing the ITR is 31st of October, and due date for filing the audit report is 30th September. And if the audit report is not filed, it is delayed, and the ITR is filed in time, where are some consequences will follow?
Consequences in the sense you will not get the deductions available under section 11 and 12. Let me give a simple example. Now, suppose 15% deduction, very simple example. You will not get that 15% accumulation. Suppose if you file without the audit report, you file the return, you take the 15% deduction also under section 11(1). But you will get an intimation saying that my audit report is filed late and this is the demand.
But I have not filed this 10 BB in 1 year, period, 31st March 2023,
Okay.
and received a notice
Hmm.
saying that all the expenses which were claimed are disallowed.
That was happening in the past, sir. That was happening, but in that case, what the remedy available is, you can condone the delay in filing that form. You can get the order from the CIT, and then the CIT in most probable circumstances, based on the merits of the case, they will condone the delay.
And file the 10 BB.
And then you can give the effect of the order of the PCIT condoning the delay to the concerned assessing officer, and he will remove the demand to that extent.
Declaration of delay has to be filed with
Yes, sir. Petition has to be filed to the CIT, PCIT, as the case may be. And 139(4), of course, everybody is available. Everybody knows about it. 139(4) belated return up to 31st of December. After 31st December, you cannot file the returns. A very important circular, CBDT wide circular number 6, 2023, dated 24/5/2023, clarified that accumulation shall not be denied to a trust as long as the statement is furnished on or before the due date of filing return of income under section 139(1) of the Act. But now that circular is not available for this financial year 23-24. At least we have done the compliances based on 31st.
of the people have taken the view that will be whole.
Let's see. Only time can tell that now, sir. Though only form number 10 is required to be uploaded, there are certain other compliances which has to be seen as far as form number 10 is concerned. Required to be uploaded based on the case laws which I have gone through over the period. The following documents and details should be prepared for accumulation resolution to be passed by the governing board for accumulation under section 11(2). Accounts to be submitted to AO within 6 months from the end of each relevant previous year. Now, form number 10 ke liye, there is one more condition. You have to file the audit report on time. You have to file the returns on time as prescribed by section 139(1). If you are not filing form number 10, and that is dealt with section 13(9). 13(9) says that both the things you have to file on time for availing the accumulation under section 11(2). By filing form number 10 to be precise. That means you cannot delay the audit report, you cannot delay the income tax return also. 139(4) bhi nahi chalega. You have to comply by both the due dates. Otherwise, that accumulation will be disallowed. Earlier, in the past, when it was made, when e-filing was made mandatory, in the assessment year 17-18, I believe at that time, there were 3 or 4 circulars that you can write to the Principal Commissioner of Income Tax and get the delay condoned. But now that remedy, I think, is not available. You have to straight away pay the taxes on the same. Though morality of purpose is not precluded, the purpose has to be specific, precise, and concrete. What I would suggest is when you are filing form number 10, the trust should have a clear-cut idea that this is the reason for which we are accumulating the money. Because in most of the circumstances, what I have seen is कि हाँ surplus ज़्यादा हो रहा है, form number 10 भर दो. अब form number 10 भर दो, वो भर दिया, लेकिन अगर वो अगले साल के कहाँ किसमें use करोगे? You don't have the purpose to spend that money. आप 5 साल accumulate कर लोगे, 5 साल तक भी आपको ऐसा कोई purpose नहीं मिला. So in that case, the entire amount which is accumulated will be put to tax. You should have a clear-cut idea that this is the reason for which we want to accumulate the money for a period of 5 years. Otherwise, straight away उसी साल में tax भर दो जो भी surplus आ रहा है.
If it is accumulated and later on, in the second or third year, if even some other trust.
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
Not allowed. Those conditions are there.
So that basic exemption we can avail, no? There should not be any problem.
Basic exemption 250,000 even. Yes.
This will be over and above that.
Yes. Earlier in the last year, when the specified violation ka thing had come 115 BBI, there was a lot of confusion. The ITR 7 was also not proper. It was giving an impression that anything above 15% if you are accumulating, including 250,000 also, you will be put to tax at maximum marginal rate. But then there was a clarification from the department that you will be taxed as per individuals in this case, and you will get the minimum limit of 2,50,000. Over and above 15%. Yes, sir.
Not if 5 years, tax, say 50 years or 60.
It will be taxed because now suppose 24, 25. You accumulated in 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 29, you will have to use by 29, 31st March, you will have to use the money. You are preparing a table saying that 1 crore was accumulated and till 31st March 29, you have spent only 80 lakhs. Straight away that 20 lakhs will be put to tax in the 5th year itself, sir.
So that can be a deferment of tax.
Yes, it is. It is a deferment of tax. But that too, I mean, that is the advantage which is given to charitable trust. Maybe you can count as one of the advantages. Okay, now
What had it to be added?
under 115 BBI, sir, because specified violation is there nowadays.
So it is very much clear with that by 31st August, you must finalize your accounts
Yes.
and see that 85% is used up, otherwise to file a formable tax.
I would say by 31st May. I mean, for trusts which are receiving donations, 31st May becomes the due date. Because आप 10 BD कैसे file करोगे? But of course, in the years to because of this new regime kicking in, ATC ka deduction will be more or less redundant. A very few people will get that deduction. So 31st May में ज़्यादा अभी pressure आएगा नहीं आगे.
ATC nobody is.
Actually कोई फायदा नहीं.
Only those persons who are having capital and income.
Yes. And there is one more thing, sir. Now, if why and from talking from the trust perspective, why will they go for ATG approval? For the simple reason that there is a condition that if you want to take CSR funds from the corporate body, you want to have ATG approval. There is one condition that without ATG approval, you will not get CSR1 registration. So that is the only reason you will avail ATG now, because otherwise, छोटे donors तो not. Not. Special rate लग जाता है ना सर उसमें. Special rate. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Specified violation 115 BBI. Now, section 11.5 also, now all these accumulations have to be invested in the mode specified under section 11.5. 11.5 may we'll see what is covered in 11.5. We'll talk at that time. Now, 11.3, I know briefly, let me touch upon 11.3 also. 11.3, what does 11.3 says that suppose if a particular trust has accumulated amount for a particular purpose. Now, after that accumulation, if the achievement of that particular purpose becomes difficult, in that case, they may approach to the income tax department and tell them, by this is the situation, we had accumulated the amount for so and so reason, but due to so and so reason, we are not in a position to spend this amount on this purpose. So please allow us to spend this amount on the other purposes which are covered in the constitutional document of the trust.
So you mean to say you have to also write the purpose for which you will be.
Definitely, you have to be precise rather. You have to be precise. Many Form 10s I have seen towards accumulated for spending towards the objects of the trust. That is not the correct thing to do.
No, but towards the general expenses of the trust.
No, not allowed.
Specific.
You have got to be specific. I mean, plurality is not banned. You may write 3 or 4 objects. You may say that I want to come up with a dharmshala. You may say that I want to come up with a school building. I want to come up with a hospital building. You may have 3 or 4 purposes. That is not an issue. But you have to be precise. The renovation of building can be done. Pardon me? Can be done, definitely. Provided it is covered in your objects of the trust deed or the MOA as the case may be. So, now 2003 till 2003 also, I mean, giving the accumulated amount to another trust was allowed. But in 2003, there was an amendment again now. when नहीं आप trust to trust नहीं दे सकते. You will 11 to you have accumulated for a specific purpose. You have to use that money toward that purpose. Maintenance of separate books of accounts we have already discussed. Books of accounts notification. Notification number 94. I have reproduced the entire notification over here. And it has to be, the accounts have to be kept for a period of 10 years. I think now they should revise because reassessment proceedings पहले 10 साल के थे, अभी तो कम कर दिए, 5 साल कर दिए, तो शायद I think there should be an amendment in this also. 6 साल रखेंगे तो भी चलेगा. 40A3 disallowance, you know, when you are not deducting TDS, 30% is disallowed. And when you are giving spending amount more than 10,000 in cash or not in recognized banking notes, in that case also that particular amount will be disallowed and added back to your income. Now, generally we face one query regarding the 15%, you know, accumulation, 15% 15 inter-charity donations, 15% disallowance. Many a time we face a query कि भाई सर उसको कैसे करने का, because what I suggest is कि you prepare the income and expenditure account in the usual manner and whatever is disallowed, you can add back in your computation. Yes.
If it is say 2 lakh and then 50,000 that is okay.
Yes.
So this inter-charity,
Designation, then add your-
donation kind also, might we are giving cover to the school or computer to the school.
No, but that is not an issue, I believe, because you are spending for the purchase of that cupboard, you will be giving that amount to somebody else. You are not giving that amount directly. In kind is not a problem. Absolutely not an issue. Now, there's one more recent thing, principal commissioner to call for documents or information in case he notices specified violations. On receipt of reference from AO, suppose the AO gets some information of a client SSC and he writes to the CIT, saying that these are the violations which this trust is doing. The principal commissioner of income tax can take cognizance of the same and initiate an inquiry. An order may be passed and the time limit for giving the passing the order is within 6 months from the end of the quarter in which the proceedings are started. So this is another thing. Risk management strategy is another thing. The computer may give some information and the department may take cognizance of the same and you will end up, you know, what may be the consequences? Cancellation of 12A. You may be put to tax at one as per 115 TD chapter 12. So these are the consequences. Specified violations, I have listed all the specified violations. As I said, income applied for objects other than the objects for which the trust institution was formed. Income from activities not incidental, non-genuine activities, non-compliance under any other law. Application furnished by the trust institution is not complete. Even if your application is not complete, it is a specified violation.
Any other law, what it is?
Any other law, maybe any other law, sir. Maybe it may be a provident fund law also. It may, in common parlance, if your trust is registered under the with the charity commissioner, non-compliance under MPTA, Maharashtra Public Trust Act, which is the most common thing. You have not filed change reports. You have not taken permissions to take loans from the charity commissioner. You have not taken permission to sell the property. There may be a lot of non-compliances. You have not filed change report.
If you are if you have not registered yourself with the provision tax authority. And
That
not paid the provision tax
yes,
of the employee.
yes, yes.
Workers are required to register profession tax.
Provided, I mean, if they fall under that particular definition. Yes. Suppose if you are running a school, in that case, of course, profession tax is applicable to you. Now, but there is one relief, basically, what we can say. They say that if the non-compliance is material, if it is not material, समझो छोटा मोटा non-compliance है, it is not affecting the overall entity as such, or it is not affecting the activities of the trust. In that case, they may, you know, grant. It is not material. But otherwise, when we talk about Maharashtra Public Trust Act also you will have to submit the accounts every year. Suppose if you are not submitting the accounts to the charity commissioner for the last say 3 or 4 or 5 years. So that is again a material non-compliance. You have taken a huge loan in your books in crores of rupees. You have not taken permission from the Maharashtra Public Trust Act Charity Commissioner. That is again a major non-compliance. So those things have to be seen. Timely compliance with the Maharashtra Public Trust Act has become very essential nowadays. And difficult also.
Registration was that it's a word.
Okay.
But at the time of permanent registration, it's a
Reason?
that you are using the funds for that marriages or youth marriage.
For a particular community or something of that sort there. But you are saying your trust is an old trust. Was it not registered under section 12A earlier? This is the first time you are doing it.
What 4 years back?
3-4 years back. I mean, you mean to say 20 after 21-22.
For educational, you are not making. The asset will be taxed as per.
No, because your 12A is rejected, you mean to say. 115 TD provisions may kick in because 12A is rejected. Your provisional, even if you are having a provisional 12A, ultimately it is rejected. If it is rejected, in most of the cases, we have seen that the SSC is receiving notices and they are being asked to show cause why 115 TD provision should not be applied to you. There is a possibility, but of course, you should fight for your regular 12A register. You should go to the ITAT in that case. Whatever is your grievance, you can write to the ITAT. You will be given a second chance. Definitely you should go. Yes, sir. Pardon me?
Yeah.
PF not paid in time.
So the year.
And
what about the fee?
No, but is that non-compliance very material? It is material. But of course, you will have to pay that amount sooner or later. Then no. It will not be put to tax at maximum marginal rate just for this reason. Because the only thing which can happen is suppose you had to pay that professional tax in 23-24. You are paying it in 24-25. Provident, sorry. Now, suppose if you were to pay in 23-24, you are paying in 24-25. Maximum what can happen is 23-24. You will be disallowed that amount. It will be allowed in 24-25. That is not an issue. Yes, sir.
Before the return filing, if I do.
Pardon me?
Before the return filing, how many people get before the return filing?
I mean, it will be allowed in that year in which you pay. Definitely. Anonymous donation, of course, we are covering 115 BPC that everybody is available. Everybody is aware what is anonymous donation. Anonymous donation, of course, there is one exception that if your trust is a religious trust and you are having 12A registration, in that case, you can accept anonymous donations as far as a religious trust is concerned. 13.8 we have already discussed. Exemptions under section 10, only 10.1 will be allowed. 10.1 is what agricultural income. Otherwise, no deductions under section 10 will be allowed to a charitable organization. There are certain unimportant amendments which I am just skipping through. 139 4C and 4A. We have to file the returns of section 1023C entities as per section 139 4C and section 11 entities as per section 139 4A. Income applied for the benefit of specified persons, promoters of the trustees, relatives of the trustees. In that case, they have come up with a penalty section now. Suppose if there is a non-compliance of say 1 lakh rupees, you will be levied a penalty of 1 lakh rupees on first violation. Suppose if you are doing the same violation again, this time you will be charged 200%. Third violation abhi tak clear nahi hai. So Third violation, I don't know whether it will be charged at 100% or 200%. I think 300%. So
Trust is paying the rent to the trustee for the use of.
Hmm.
Would it be called as a benefit?
provided it is, yes, it will be allowed, provided the rent which is paid is as per market standards and it is reasonable. This section restricts only unreasonable payments. Suppose if you have a doctor in your charitable trust who is also a trustee, who is rendering his services, and if he is being paid revenue, remuneration, in that case it is allowed, provided it is reasonable.
If it is reasonable, we need not report as an auditor also.
I think we should report. We should report because why? I mean, we should not take that chance. Let the department decide whether it is reasonable or unreasonable. Now, 1310, there is one very welcome provision, sir. Everybody can take note of this. 1310 provision. What does it say? In case of non-maintenance of books of accounts, failure to get them audited, failure to file return of income, inclusion of income to total income due to carrying on of activities of commercial nature. Wherever there is violation of this type, you can avail section 1310. You will be allowed expenditure, all the expenditures. Earlier, what used to happen? You were put to tax at maximum marginal rate at the gross amount, the thing which you were referring earlier. So 1310 is a very welcome provision. Now, suppose if you come across a trust, you have a client. Now, by 30th September, you are not in a position because he did not give you the account. That is why you could not do the audit. Similarly, you did not file up till say 31st of October. In that case, what we can do is we can avail 1310 and we can file the returns. Now, there may be many small time trusts. पैसे 2-5 लाख रुपए आए, 2-5 लाख रुपए खर्च हो गए. There is not much surplus. 1310 can come to your rescue. If you are crossing the limit of 2,50,000, filing of form 10BB becomes mandatory. But under 1310, you need not file 10BB. You can say, I am filing the returns under section 1310. There is a checkbox given, and then you can avail this. This is a very welcome provision. Of course, there are subject to conditions. Of course, कोई भी benefit दिया जाता है, that is subject to conditions. कोई भी capital nature का expenditure नहीं होना चाहिए. You should not spend the money from corpus and all those things are there. Those conditions are also mentioned.
This 1310 is a subsection of 139.
No, 1310 is a separate. Yes, sir. I would suggest we should, provided you have if you have a 12A, you have a 12A. I think you should file in that case. I mean, if you don't file, it is not a problem because there is no loss to the revenue basically.
The 10BB is also required to be filed if their income is below.
No.
10BB.
10BB is required to be filed if the income is above 2,50,000 and less than 5 crores. Above 5 crores, 10B is to be filed.
10BB we can skip if the income is below tax level.
Below 2,50,000, definitely 10BB is not applicable.
But if it is registered under.
Yes, not applicable. Gross.
If gross income is below 5 crore,
Hmm.
and if it is
Above 2,50,000.
less than 2,50,000, need not file.
10BB is not required to be filed. 11.6 we have already discussed. If you have debited the entire amount of the capital asset, in that case you will not get depreciation. Otherwise, you can capitalize the asset and you can claim depreciation year on year. Again, there is no specific rate of depreciation as far as charitable trusts are concerned. So, but generally what we do is whatever is prescribed in the Income Tax Act as far as business entities are concerned, we claim the depreciation according to it. Set off is not allowed. Earlier year if there is a deficit, it cannot be set off against the income of the subsequent year. Some payable via trust or institution to be considered as application of income during the previous year in which such sum is actually paid by it, irrespective of the method of accounting regularly employed by it. We have already touched upon it. See, this is the chart which nowadays, it has become more or less inapplicable now. Of course, there are certain things for which you'll have to refer this chart for the time limits when the orders will be given and all those things. But now with the recent amendment of 2024, it has become more or less irrelevant now. Because earlier a lot of, as far as the filing dates are concerned, 1023C may you have 4 sub clauses. But ultimately 1023C will be merged with section 12A now. Noble Education Society, everybody is aware this case has created a lot of ripples in the charity sector, particularly talking about 1023C entities, that this is the case where the character of income was also verified by the Supreme Court. That what character of income you are having. If you are having income other than income related to your sole purpose of education, in that case, you lose the deductions. You will be treated as a commercial entity. But now that again 1023C after merging with section 12, that is why we were suggesting our clients earlier that आप 1023C में से निकलिए और आप 12A का registration ले लीजिए. But now with this 2024 का amendment, everything is going to get merged. तो कोई सवाल ही नहीं है. 1023C entities will be history now. अहमदाबाद अर्बन डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी का भी एक केस लॉ था, that was discussed a lot, again declared by the announced by the Supreme Court. It was related to 1046 entities. 1046 they started, the Supreme Court gave a adverse judgment, so the department passed another section 1046A in the parliament. ये बोले ये सब अभी 1046 में इनको छूट मिल जाएगी सारी. So law making authority superseded the Supreme Court judgment.
Oda has also lot of.
Yes, that is why 1046 में था ODA का, वो 1046 ले आए.
1046
हाँ, commercial activities and all those things, profit making, profit motive.
Oda has been following subsequently. High Court of Evidence are following.
Yes, definitely
Many cases have come.
they are following. Section 11, I think in the process of our discussion, we have more or less covered. This is talking about 85% application, 15% is the standard deduction. Now, in the specified violation, there is one more specified violation nowadays, which is giving a lot of trouble as far as 12A registration or ATG registration is concerned. And that is money to be spent abroad. Money to be spent abroad. If we are having that object, the department is not giving us 12A registration until unless we don't make a change in it. But in my humble understanding, I would suggest that now if I am spending money towards the objects notified by the Central Board of Direct Taxes or the central government, in that case, if I don't have a provision in my constitutional document to spend money abroad, how will I spend money abroad? But now the department is very adamant on this. Department is saying that no, अगर आपने abroad का clause डाला है, until unless you don't change it, we will not give you 12A registration or ATG registration for that purpose. And the other challenge now is if your trust is registered under the Maharashtra Public Trust Act, it is very difficult to get the changes done. If it is your Section 8 company is relatively easier. You can change the clauses or the objects as the case may be. 11(1)(a), 9(a) we have discussed. 4 and 4A talks about business entities that we have discussed. This is 11(5) ka list. This is where you can invest as far as section 11(5) modes of investment are concerned. I have highlighted a few things in this. Point number 3 I have highlighted. Deposit in any account includes current account with a scheduled bank or a cooperative bank. Last year, I think I received a query from one of the chartered accountants saying, sir, I received donation and that donation is lying in my bank account. So I forgot to purchase FDRs of that particular amount. So have I violated 11(5)? Plus, sir, no, you have not violated 11(5). The amount is lying in the bank account. It is also covered by section 11(5). Even if it is lying in the current account, even if it is lying in the saving bank account, even if you have purchased FDs or any other modes which has been defined. So that means the compliance has been done to that extent.
Mutual fund is allowed.
Mutual fund is allowed, sir, but there is a list of mutual funds. Now, as far as Income Tax Act says any mutual fund which is approved by the SEBI. Nowadays, we don't have any mutual fund which is not approved by the SEBI. But the point is, the Maharashtra Public Trust Act has got a restricted list. That list is not available easily. But there is a restricted list. Time and again, changes have been made to it. Now, there is a challenge. Suppose if a particular thing is allowed as per section 11(5) and it is not allowed as per Maharashtra Public Trust Act, you have to take permission from the charity commissioner, sir, saying ki, "Bhai, this is the amount I want to invest in so and so thing. So please allow me to do it." Very recently in my trust, I have faced this issue. Section 35 ka permission I have taken very recently because I invested in a product which is not defined under the Maharashtra Public Trust Act. So I took permission under section 30. Day before yesterday, I had a hearing, I believe, 2 days before. And where I invested, I tell you, that is very interesting. This point which I have highlighted at the bottom of the slide. Investment by way of acquiring equity shares of a depository as defined in clause E of subsection 1 of section 2 of Depositories Act 1996. What is this? NSDL is not listed, sir. Anything which you can remember, CDSL. So जिसके trust है CDSL में invest करो. So this is the place where I invested, and for this reason I took the permission of the Charity Commission. Stock certificate as defined by Sovereign Gold Bonds 2015. Sovereign Gold Bonds, everybody is aware, we can invest in Sovereign Gold Bonds also. Section 12, I think nothing much to mention in section 12. Section 12 talks about 2 types of donations. One is voluntary donation and one is benefits given to specified persons. These are the 2 things which has to be added over and above section 11 income. Rollback is removed. Earlier there was a rollback as far as 12A is concerned. That rollback is totally out. Again, chart for 12A. We are talking about section 13. 13 more or less we have covered in our discussion when we were referring to the chart. But let us run through it basically. Section 13 has been enacted as an exception to section 11. This is very important to note. This is an exception to section 11. Now, if you are spending money towards, towards the specified persons, it is not allowed. Private charitable purpose not allowed. All those things are there. Reasonable remuneration, I have highlighted your issue out here, sir. Remuneration, reasonable remuneration under section 13(1)(c), read with section 13(2)(c) is allowed. A benefit implies payment of anything which is not legally due to person, due to a specified person. Rent is allowed. Suppose if the premises of a trustee is being used, you can pay rent to him. Reasonableness, of course, it has to be there. (13)(9) also we have covered. 13(10) we have covered. 13(10) ka exceptions, let me deal with the exceptions. Such expenditure is not from the corpus fund, from any loan or borrowing, depreciation on the assets, the acquisition of cost of which is claimed as application of income, in the form of any contribution or donation to any person. These are the exceptions. For the purposes of computing income taxable, chargeable to tax under subsection 10 above, no deduction in respect of any expenditure or allowance or set off of any loss shall be allowed to the assessee under any other provision of the Act. Okay. That is an explanatory amendment. (115) BBC, again anonymous donation. Subsection 1, subsection 2. Subsection 2 gives you exceptions to subsection 1. What are the limits? 30% tax. दो limits देखने हैं. 1 lakh or 5% of the total anonymous donation, whichever is higher. Anything which you receive above that will be put to tax at 30%. I have given a lot of case laws as far as anonymous donations are concerned. There are many case laws whereby those case laws, in those case laws, the honorable courts and the tribunals have decided that even if you are receiving donation in donation boxes, this is a common phenomenon. If you are receiving donation in donation boxes, those are anonymous donations. Now, whether it will be put to tax at maximum marginal rate. So the judgments have decided that these provisions have been brought in to, check. कॉमन पार्लेंस में हम बात करते हैं ना, ब्लैक का व्हाइट करने का प्रोसेस रोकने के लिए. बट डोनेशन बॉक्सेस normally there may be small income also, higher income also, but donation boxes have been more or less exempted. The decisions have come, I mean maximum decisions have come in favor of the SSCs. So all those case laws I have mentioned over here, whoever want to refer. 115 BBI specified violations we have already covered over there. 56(2)(10). Earlier, if the donation was given by a trust to the promoters or the trustees, in that case, it was a loophole that it cannot be put to tax. But that loophole has been plugged in now. I have highlighted it. The legislature has plugged the loophole wherein the interested person enjoys tax exemption on receiving gifts from trust. 271 AAE. Advantages to specified persons wherein 100% will be and 100% of the amount benefited by the specified person will be recovered as penalty. On the second violation, 200%.
Loan given that,
Loan given to trustee we cannot give loan. Loans, I mean a trust cannot give loan to promoters at all.
other way possible.
Other way is possible. Other way may be if the amount is sizable, there is a condition by the Maharashtra Public Trust Act saying you have to take permission to take that loan. And the loan ka repayment ka thing we were discussing the other day, that you have put a condition of 5 years ka time limit, that you have to repay that loan in 5 years to get the application towards the objects of the trust. Now, if you have taken a loan from the bank, whereby the tenure is 15 years, then what to do? Now that time will tell, because these provisions have recently come in now. Section 8, yes sir. Borrowed fund.
Yeah.
No, borrowed money spent from borrowed fund towards the objects of the trust are not allowed as application. Interest on the borrowed fund paid will be allowed as application towards the objects. It will be allowed.
These section 8 companies which are registered under section 8. So that initial capital contribution, the share capital, will it be considered as a trust or donation and will be given to the group?
I think that the other day we were discussing this issue, that whatever share capital, we will mention it separately. We will not use that amount, because it is a sort of a capital. You may call it as corpus also, but we will show it separately. Suppose if you have a share capital of X amount, then you have received say corpus donation also. We should show both those things separately.
So that need not be reported in 10(2) plus it's share capital contribution.
You may report it. You may say that this is the total capital. When you say that this is the total capital, suppose the share capital is say 1 lakh and you have received 10 lakhs as corpus. So that is your capital amount of 11 lakhs. You can show it as 11 lakhs. It's not a problem. ATG, I don't think there is much discussion required because ATG will be more or less redundant now in the new regime. But then to 15, we are dealing mostly with the 50% deduction ATG. Registrations also, a lot of relaxations have been done in ATG now. Any specific query if anybody has about ATG, I mean, we can discuss on this.
And the sponsorship will be taken as donation.
Yes.
They are directing TDS and there is a problem. That too, under section 94(j).
Professional fees.
Or sometimes
Because they are claiming it as expense. Because very recently, we have been facing such issues. In one of the trade unions, I faced this issue. Because the amount was given as a benevolent fund by a company to the trade union for the welfare of the workers. Now they say that हम TDS काटेंगे. तो हमने बोला बस सर आप TDS काटोगे तो trade union has, I mean trade union is not into any business. I mean they'll be put to tax at maximum marginal rate. You will get the deduction of the amount given to the trade union, but the trade union will be put to tax at 30% maximum marginal rate. So in that case, I told them that you take the opinion of your councils, and ultimately we came to a conclusion that that amount is given as a benevolent fund. It is given as a benevolent fund, and this issue I am facing in many of the doctors' associations also, whereby the pharma companies are sponsoring certain events and they are giving the amounts, but they are deducting tax on the same. So there also I had a discussion with them, ki, sir, you are giving this amount as a sponsorship amount. You are not giving any professional fees to the doctors in the association. So, but somehow it is creating a bit of a problem. But in my informed view, it should be given as a donation by whoever is sponsoring. And at least it should not be taken as a professional fees by the charitable trust. They should absolutely deny it. कि भाई नहीं ये हम लोग नहीं लेंगे पैसा. They are deducting in many circumstances. I have seen that they are deducting under 194C also.
Yeah.
194C, 194J. That is not the correct thing to do, in fact. Yes. वो कहते हैं कि भाई ठीक है हमने जो पैसा दिया हमने टैक्स काट लिया उसका finish and they will claim the expense. But in my trade union का example what I have just quoted, it was an MNC that MNC ultimately said कि भाई चलो ठीक है we will not deduct tax, but we will add back this income to our computation and pay taxes on the same. ठीक है, that is a welcome thing to do.
Sir, if TDS is deducted at the time of filing the return, we cannot pay for it. So what is the harm?
No, sir. That is harm in the sense, suppose if I'm talking about a trade union, right? You deducted tax at the rate of say 10%, but that income is not exempt from tax. You are getting professional fees. When we are talking about trade union, 1024 says income from house property, income from other sources, not income from business. That income from business will be singled out and it will be put to tax at 30%. 10% is already deducted. 20% you will have to pay. That is the challenge.
Sir, GST also if the amount is executed.
Yes. Correct. So 234G, 271K, 234G, 200 rupees per day ka late fee. If there is a delay in filing 10BD and procuring file 10BE. Now, how many of you have filed 10BD for this year? Delayed something, some delay, no delay. Delay किसी ने फाइल किया? नहीं किया. आपने किया delay? फाइल ही नहीं किया.
They don't want to claim it.
And that's fine. I mean, ATG, if they don't want to claim, it's okay. But if people want to claim ATG and उसमें delayed filing है, because we have filed a few returns which are delayed, but somehow late fee department नहीं मांग रहा है अभी फिलहाल उस पे. Let's see in future if they send some demand or something. नहीं yes. नहीं second year. Last year also we had filed 10BD. अब last year भी था sir. Yes.
This is the first year where the individual return you have to give that.
Yes.
Because of the.
नहीं last year भी देना था 10BD तो. हाँ तो फिर ठीक है. अच्छा. अच्छा. ठीक है. वैसे तो दो जगह पे पेनल्टी के प्रोविजंस है. 271K they are saying 10,000 penalty over and above the late fee. 115 TDTF accredited income calculation. How is it calculated? Your asset at the market value minus the liability. That liability will not include corpus. The resultant will be your net asset as per today's market value. That will be put to tax at maximum marginal rate. Now, how hard this can be, how draconian this can be. Now, suppose if you have a property, if you have a 100-year-old trust, if you have a property of say 10,000 rupees in the value sheet, and that value is of say today it is of say crores and crores of rupees, so you will end up paying tax on that 20%.
Suppose first of this is donation of 10 lakhs.
Hmm.
I have filed 10 BT or 5 lakhs. And that 5 lakh BT is a conversion? No.
No, no,
No.
no, absolutely not. No, because in your form, ITR 7, if I'm not wrong, she files the form because I'm doing it on a very lower side as far as filing of forms are concerned. So there is a provision whereby you say other than anonymous donation, if I'm not, other than anonymous donation. So over there you can write.
Total and
Sir, last year, many of the SSCs have not got a main meeting in respect of Ram Bhimra Kumbhi donation.
Okay.
That is the thing.
Oh,
Then we
10 भी नहीं मिला.
difficult to get.
I know, I mean, इतना काम हो रहा है. इतने सारे लोगों से डोनेशन से.
So many of the SSC have mentioned the only receipt number and the return.
And they got the deduction also.
But not, I don't, whether they will get a deduction or not.
I think the returns are processed now. I have not come across any such challenge till now.
Yeah.
Actually क्या है कि it being a new process, तो अभी it will also take time. तो अभी 1-2 साल में शायद और थोड़ा stringent हो जाएगा. So 115 TD is like, very draconian. Earlier it was not applicable to 1023C. Now it is applicable to 1023C also. And now with the merger of 1023C to 12A, अब तो applicable हो ही गया 115 TD. But till now, I don't know whether anybody of you must have come across any such case whereby tax आपको 115 TD में लग गया हो. Any person? कोई ऐसा example?
yes, sir, 1 month, this TD में भी लगा और maximum marginal rate भी लगा, दोनों लग सकता है.
No. क्योंकि already 30% आ ही गया उसको. MMR is also 30%, TD is also 30%.
आपने भी देखा हो.
नहीं, हमने नहीं देखा. हमने भी नहीं देखा अभी तक तो. अभी काफी बड़ा पोर्टफोलियो है मेरा चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट का, लेकिन I have never come across such a situation. नोटिस में शो कॉज आता है कि why 115 TD should not be levied. लेकिन अभी तक लगा नहीं. One 143(3) we have already discussed. नया amendment है ये. कुछ circulars है, important circular which you may go through it as per your convenience. सारा कुछ मैंने उसमें cover किया है. Merger of trusts. अभी merger of trust हो गया. अच्छा, now we have come to the amendments by the Finance Act 2024 latest. Now इसमें major changes क्या हो गए? Major changes, the registration process has changed. Now suppose करो, I will take a practical, I will explain it practically. Now suppose if you have registration under section 12A in the erstwhile regime before the amendment kicked in, and you could not take the re-registration till the latest amendment also 30th June 2024 का extension तक you did not take the re-registration. Now from 1st October you can go for that re-registration also. But the delay has to be condoned by the PCIT based on the merits of your case. 1023C, whoever are enjoying the registration or approval under 1023C, maximum whenever it is, whenever it is expiring, after that they'll have to migrate to 12A. From 1st October onwards, no applications under 1023C will be filed. Everything will be filed under 12A.
They will be automatically migrated or you have to do something.
No.
1023.
नहीं, 1023C में suppose if you have registration up till 31st March 2028, for example. Till 31st March 2028, you will be registered under 1023C. But after that, straight away 12. 1023C के सब provisions निकल जाएंगे.
So at that time, what you need to do? You have to apply after.
You have to select the relevant form. The form is also not going to change. Now the only thing is that now from 1st October onwards, 1023C में you cannot apply. You will have to apply under 12A only. Because both the sections have been merged. ATG में also earlier, I mean, there was a lot of ambiguity as far as ATG register approval is concerned, but now that is also put to rest. Now, earlier, the situation was such that once your ATG is rejected, you will not be in a position to apply again. The provisions were such. Now, those provisions are also relaxed. You can apply for ATG after 1st October anytime as per your convenience. Even if you want to get provisional registration or regular registration, conversion from provisional to regular also. Pardon? Without 12A नहीं होगा sir. Without 12A is a precondition. 12A is for the organization, ATG is for the donor to the organization. 12A is a precondition. I think it should go hand in hand. 2 years difference is there because the Pune CIT exemption was issuing. I mean, suppose if there is a gap of 1 year, the ATG approval was given only for 4 years. And that is the correct thing to do because now once your 12A expires earlier. So that is the reason. I mean, you have to reapply again, I would suggest.
Where is your 25 and ATG in 23, 24, 25?
ATG is 24, 25.
ATG for 3 years.
Provisional it was there. But provisionally you did not apply for regular registration in that case, a regular approval, sorry. But if at that time limit is also crossed, 24, 25 you are talking. 24, 25. Okay. Now you are enjoying provisional registration. But you for conversion you will have to apply now. You will apply now, right? Before 6 months, yes. So you will have to apply before 30th of September. So when you get the regular registration, that 12A, that ATG register approval will be in consonance with your 12A registration. जब आपका 12A expire होगा, उसी date तक का ATG आपको मिलेगा सर. So that both are on same page. 10 AB. Now the time is very short now for that. Then in that case, you will be treated as not registered under section. You can still avail the provisional registration up to 31st March 2025. In our experience, we have seen that even if you are having a provisional registration, we were accepting donations, we were filing 10BD, 10B was generated, and the donors were getting the advantage. Because for the department to disallow those particular deductions, they will have to reach to each and every donor, which is a very difficult task. And the donor will say that हमको तो valid ATG दिया गया था तभी हमने donation दिया. Yes. But ideally speaking, before 30th September, you should apply for a regular registration. That is the correct thing to do.
When we apply in
April,
instead of waiting up to September, can we apply?
we can. Waiting up to, we can do that. Because even if in April you apply, your application will be considered in the financial year 24-25. You will get the registration effective 25-26. Assessment year 25-26. So that is what you exactly want. So rather than waiting for the last date, you should state away like, sir, you can apply it tomorrow itself. Why to wait till 30th September? Of course.
Sometimes the application made in April, suppose it is rejected by the assessing officer. Can I apply again before 30th September?
No, but if you are making a regular application, you will not get the notice so fast. If you are making,
But I had applied much earlier.
Okay.
1.5 year earlier.
Okay. No, but if that 12A registration is cancelled, you are rejected. The regular one is rejected. Ultimately, the provisional one will be also be rejected. Provisional भी नहीं रहेगा आपके पास. It will have an impact on provisional also because the registration for a period of 5 years is given with retrospective effect.
Provisional was ready to assessment year 25.
That's fine. But provisional was first issued on the in which assessment, for which assessment year? 22-23? Right? If you are getting a regular registration, you will get a regular registration from assessment year 22-23 onwards. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Now I'm left.
If the application, if your regular application is rejected, that means in most probable circumstances, your provisional also will be rejected.
Sir, if I am registered under the Rajasthan Societies Act,
Mhm.
I'm at trust,
Mhm.
can I apply for the entire all India level?
Definitely.
What is this?
Income tax is Pan India Act.
No, not income tax, under the from Rajasthan to all India.
See, Rajasthan to all India, you are registered under Rajasthan Societies Act. Rajasthan Society Act, if I am not wrong, is applicable only to the state of Rajasthan, as the name suggests. There is another Society Registration Act 1860, which is a Pan India Act. You can register under Society Registration Act 1860. It is a Pan India Act. And then too, even if you are registered under Rajasthan Society Act, you can operate in the entire of India. There is no ban to it.
So a fresh application can be,
Yes.
so there will be not a delay or nothing of that,
No. A fresh application for what?
all India.
No, but you will get the fresh application which you are making now. It will be effective from now onwards. Not an issue. So we'll take it. Yes, sir. Any other? Merger of trust. I think we have discussed this. 1st October से effective है. 1023 से merger we have already. Additional compliances due to the transition from section 1023C to section 11. There are certain pain points which I have listed over here. Requirement for re-registration on modification of objects under section 12A1AB, that everybody is aware, if you are changing the objects in a 12A registered organization, you have to notify those changes to the income tax department and take a fresh 12A registration. Whereas this provision was not there for 1023C. Now it will be applicable to 1023C organizations also after the merger. Application of income outside India. When we are talking about application of income outside India, there is a specific section, section 11(1)(c) for 12A registered organization, whereas 1023C may, there is no such section. But now this will be applicable to 1023C also. Application of that we have discussed. Benefit of deemed application under explanation 1.2 to section 11(1). What is this? Filing of form number 9A. 9A was not applicable to 1023C now, but it will be applicable to 1023C also now after the merger. So these are certain differences, minor differences. Treatment of capital gains. Treatment of capital gains, there is a separate section under section 12A. But there was no such section for 1023C. Now for 1023C also, section the section on capital assets will be applicable. Capital gains will be applicable. Withdrawal of the benefit of exemption or cancellation of approval if the income is not used for public benefit as per section 13(1)(a). There was no such similar clause for 1023C organization, but now it will be applicable. 13(1)(b). Withdrawal of the benefit of exemption or cancellation of approval if the income is used for the benefit of any particular religious community. This was not defined under 1023C earlier, but now due to the merger, it will be applicable now. 11(4) talks about business undertakings. 1023C may there was no such definition explanation earlier, but now it will be applicable to it. These are the other changes, important, which will be applicable to 1023C organizations. 12AB, we have already discussed that how the registration will be done henceforth. There is a change in time limit also. I have been seeing in Pune CIT exemption more particularly, in Mumbai also, but in Pune CIT exemption, the volume is larger because it is dealing with other than Bombay, entire of Maharashtra. Entire of Maharashtra except Mumbai. Let me put it this way. So there is a huge volume. Even the 6 months ka time limit for disposing the application is not sufficient to them because 700, 800 cases anytime, 900 cases anytime. So now that is the reason they have relaxed the time limit. Now what they are saying is the applications can be disposed within 6 months from the end of the quarter in which the application is made. And effectively, they have given a period of 8 to 9 months. And this is again effective 1st October 2024. Rationalization of timelines for funds registered under ATG that we have already discussed. This is what they have striked off in the amendment. PPT आप लोग सब लोग पढ़ लेना. ट्रस्ट में एक्सपर्ट हो जाओगे,
नंबर
नंबर दे देंगे ना सर। तो अभी वो लास्ट में वो आएगा, वो बारकोड भी आएगा। हाँ, it is you are eligible for that approval till what period? 31st March 26. You have provisional or regular? Regular है ना, till 26. After 26 you will be applying under section 12A. अभी तक आप एंजॉय कर सकते हैं तब तक 1023C। लेट नहीं होगा। Yes. Form same रहेंगे, only the section will change. Rationalization of timelines we have covered. ये कुछ सेक्शंस है 23EA, 23ED, ये स्पेशल प्रोविजन 1023C के स्पेशल कुछ सेक्शंस है. The provisions of this will be covered in 12A also. अभी फॉर्म 10BB, फॉर्म 10B, मैं समझता हूँ अभी सेक्शंस के सारे नॉलेज अपने को हो गए. तो 10B और 10BB का खाली डिफरेंस बताता हूँ. When 10B is applicable, when 10BB is applicable. That also we have discussed briefly. हाँ, लेकिन 10B में दो कंडीशंस और है सर. If you are spending money towards the objects of the trust outside India, in that case, even if your gross turnover is less than 5 crores, आपको 10B ही भरना है. अगर आपका ट्रस्ट FCRA अप्रूव्ड है और आप अप्रूव्ड होने के साथ साथ ही आपको ये 10B आपके लिए भी एप्लीकेबल नहीं रहेगा. फिर सॉरी 10B एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगा. जैसे पहले आपका टर्नओवर 5 करोड़ से नीचे है, लेकिन FCRA की रजिस्ट्रेशन होने की वजह से 10B will be applicable to you strictly, irrespective of the gross turnover or gross receipts of your trust. तो ये बेसिक दो डिफरेंस है खाली 10B and 10BB. Of course 10B बहुत elaborate फॉर्म है, 10BB is a smaller form comparatively. ITR 7 दोनों के लिए सेम एप्लीकेबल है, B और BB के लिए, which is again a very elaborate form with all the explanations. कहीं पर भी हम जरा भी चूके, let me share an example with you. अगर you have a corpus and that corpus, कई बार situation ऐसी है कि भाई that corpus is not sufficiently invested as per section 11(5). In that case जो भी आपका difference है, suppose if you have a corpus of 1 crore and section 11(5) में you are complying only to the extent of 90 lakhs, आपका सीधा 10 lakhs के ऊपर tax calculate हो जाएगा. So you have to be very particular in all the forms. सारी डिटेल्स देनी है. लोन्स एंड बोरोइंग्स, ओपनिंग लोन्स एंड बोरोइंग्स कितना था, उसमें से आपने टुवर्ड्स द ऑब्जेक्ट्स ऑफ द ट्रस्ट कितना खर्च किया, लोन का रिपेमेंट कितना किया, व्हाट इज बैलेंस. सिमिलर विद द कॉर्पस आल्सो, व्हाट वाज योर ओपनिंग कॉर्पस, अभी इस साल में कॉर्पस कितना आया, आपने कॉर्पस में से खर्चा कितना किया, व्हाट हैव यू रीइंबर्स्ड, ऑल दोस थिंग्स, इलैबोरेट डिटेल्स है सब. सो अनटिल अनलेस वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोविजंस, हम ये सोचे कि 10B 10BB और हम ये भरने जाएंगे ना, तो बड़ी दिक्कत होगी. So 10B 10BB में we have कहाँ क्या चीज मेंशन करना है, that we have done. That I think आप लोग घर में इत्मीनान से देखिएगा. कुछ circulars important sir. Yes sir.
Its application can be used for revenue activities subsequently, or it should be done for the capital.
No, it is, I mean, you can spend it for, provided you have mentioned that particular purpose in your form 10, that this is the reason for which you are accumulating. I mean, deviation is not allowed over there. लेकिन ठीक है, I mean, practically also we can think about it. But I mean, the other thing, the other suggestions, etc., will depend upon the entire situation when we take a holistic view of the transactions. But all said and done, whatever you have, first of all, you have got to be specific in your form number 10, and then as per the objects which you have mentioned in your form number 10, that amount should be spent towards those objects only. Irrespective, whether it is revenue or capital, that is not an issue. Absolutely not an issue. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
Now, it's already there for educational.
Hmm.
But it inform department that, or are you making payment to the foreign serious application and subsequent payments like the study material, getting some, production papers, or getting it checked from them, or training from them. So do I need to like department that I'm making this foreign payments? The object towards the educational purpose, not a specific foreign payments line.
No, but you are carrying out your activities entirely in India. You are not carrying out your activities outside India. Because I don't think the department has given any such procedure whereby we have to inform when we are making payments outside India. Because remittance ultimately you will be following the FEMA guidelines. FEMA and RBI guidelines you will be following. And the department has never, I mean, it has never mentioned that if you are making some payments outside India, you have to take permissions from us. There is no such thing as, I mean, it is mentioned in income tax. So you can carry on your activities as per your doing until unless you are not carrying out the activities outside India. It is, I mean, only 11 months he talks about it. That's not a problem. When you are complying with RBI and FEMA guidelines, I think it should be sufficient. And the income tax has not specifically mentioned that they should be informed about it. There is no need.
But you said that borrowing the funds forward, its application will not be allowed. So when I'm borrowing it, so I cannot make use for the revenue activities that borrowed fund.
You can use the funds towards the activities of the trust, but my point is now suppose when you are taking a loan, that loan will be reflected as your liability. You will be having a certain amount of income besides the loan. To the loans in most common circumstances, why do you use a borrowed fund? Because you are short of income.
Yes.
You are short of income. Now suppose if you have an income of say 1 crore and you are spending 1 crore 50 lakhs, you will use that 50 lakhs from the borrowed funds. You will not be allowed application towards the objects of the trust to the extent of 50 lakhs, which will be allowed to you when you repay the loan in the subsequent time to come, subject to a limit of 5 years. Yes, that repayment will be allowed as an application towards the objects of the trust in the year of repayment and to the extent of repayment.
How do we judge it is out of, because I am following the mixed books of the account. It is out of borrowed funds or it is out of my 15% deduction which I was getting in earlier year. Maybe out of that.
Yes, ideally you should use the amount from those funds only, from reserves and surplus that is accumulated out of income and expenditure. Only after the exhaustion of that particular, I mean, this is of course a practical thing which I'm telling you. Only after the exhaustion of that amount, you should use from the borrowed funds or the corpus fund, so that you don't land up into unnecessary compliances. Yes, sir.
24, I find form number 98.
Mhm.
Assessment year 24-25, I have some unutilized amount out of that accumulation. Now for assessment year 24-25, I'm filing form 10. So this unutilized amount.
Unutilized amount will be put to tax.
On behalf of the. And on 31st March, it is payable.
31st March it is payable, okay? If it is payable, you will have to add back that amount to your computation to that extent.
Next year, right?
Next year, whenever you are making that payment, you will get application. You will have to reduce that amount.
Donation to other 85% will be allowed. Suppose 100 is the amount gross receipt, 85 will be allowed. So that 15% is again allowed.
Yes. Set off हो जाएगा, zero हो जाएगा. Yes. हाँ. It is accumulated in common reserves. Either we are showing in reserves and surplus, or we are adding up in the income and expenditure account.
and in the next year? Oh, every year it is 50% around.
Yes, it is a standard deduction to you.
Proper donation is to be specifically mentioned in the balance sheet.
Yes, sir.
So whether you require a separate bank account or in the existing bank.
You can in the existing bank account.
You can earmark.
Yes, yes. For better accounting, if you want to do it, it's okay. But otherwise, in the same bank account, you can operate. Will be registered trust be merged with a Section 8 company.
We have done that, but
See, the point is, if a section 12 registered entities in Maharashtra, Maharashtra Public Trust, the trust is registered under Maharashtra Public Trust Act. Maharashtra Public Trust Act has got no such procedure of merging from a trust to a Section 8 company. Whereas the Companies Act has covered this. I mean, there you have a facility. But you will have to go to the charity commissioner and take an order from there. Only then it can be merged with the Section 8 company. It can be done, but of course, I have not done it, but it can be done. I'm aware. I had initiated a few cases, but ultimately they didn't turn up. Yeah, just one. Yeah, tell me.
the borrowed funds, what I asked that borrowed funds can be for the restricted to the extent of the income part. If it is within the, let's suppose I got a receipt of 1 crore and I'm made a borrowing of only 50 lakhs and 50 lakhs is within that 1 crore income only. So that can be used for my revenue activity.
I mean, you can always use that amount. I've never said that you cannot use the borrowed funds towards the activities. Revenue activities or capital activities, that is not the demarcation basically. Whatever you have borrowed, you can use towards the objects of the trust. If there is an excess, I mean, you are using from the borrowed funds, that particular amount will not be allowed as application towards the objects of the trust for that particular financial year. Whenever you repay that amount, it will be allowed.
So, it will not be that.
No, I mean, in that circumstance, we'll have to see your practical figures. Only then I can suggest, because hypothetical discussion will. Until unless I don't have the exact figures, I will not be in a position to comment on it. Because the position of law is very clear. If you are using from loans and borrowings, the time when you repay the loans and borrowings, it will be treated as application, otherwise not. So I think we should conclude. अभी ज्यादा सवाल जवाब का टाइम नहीं है हमारे पास.
Thank you, Gupta ji. Actually, since past 4 years, our finance minister has, she's bringing more amendments in trust than any other act or any other section. So it's so complicated. But after hearing Mr. Gupta, it seems that everything is simple. Now we understand he has linked all the sections and all the amendments with the current situations, made our life easy. I think now everybody sitting here now can form or run the trust, or file the returns and all the forms in a way. Thank you very much, sir. It was very nice session. Thank you.
Your number and email ID.
Yeah, that should put you in the group. Email ready on this one, and along with the PPT presentation, we'll present in the group. Yeah, he'll get you the barcode. You can scan it.
Thank you, everybody. We can close the meetings today. Thank you.
Scanning.